Welcome into week 4. Jason Draven, Mike Burland. We're here to help you figure out what's going on with the waiver wire because it is crazy. Injuries are going on left and right. But before we all get started and get rolling, Mike, how you doing?
Yeah, doing all right. We got another double header. This time it's only an hour apart each game, so you kind of have to choose which one you want to watch or multiple. I guess a lot of people have multiple screens these days, right? So, but yeah, doing all right. Our Chargers, tough loss for our Chargers, but that's okay. We're still optimistic, and we'll see how the rest of the season goes.
Yeah, just speaking of injuries, that's kind of how it worked out, unfortunately. We're in that area where it's just a rough sledding for everybody, and you don't really love it, unfortunately. So, and on top of that, now you don't have your Steelers, your Bears, your Packers, your Falcons, all that's gone. Of course, as good old Daniel says here, Malik Neighbors, lost him, ACL. Ricky Pearsall, Cedric Tillman, we're not quite sure how serious that is. Lamar Jackson, potentially. I mean, it just seems like everybody's going down left and right. So we're going to be here, hopefully helping you decide what the best pick is.
Bucky Irving, too, I saw was getting an MRI on something, too. So, yeah, it's piling up.
It'll be definitely interesting to see how all this ends up going because it's kind of getting into a very messy situation very quickly. We had a good start that made it a little easier on us, but unfortunately we're just rolling through it and doesn't look like it's getting any better, unfortunately. So, oh well. We're going to start by finding you a streaming quarterback because you're going to not have Aaron Rodgers, which hopefully you weren't playing. You might have been streaming or playing Caleb Williams. You probably were playing Jordan Love, and then it was hit or miss on Penix. So, guy I'm going with is Matthew Stafford versus the 49ers. Talk about one that's pretty widely available. I mean, it's 40.9. Wow, 40.9% rostered. Golly, my brain's just not working today. But when you're looking at quarterbacks versus the 49ers, this week was a great example as Trevor Lawrence somehow put up 11.7 fantasy points against them. Like, it's just crazy to see differences. I mean, you have him putting up 11.7. You have Kyler putting up 14 in a mess. And then who else do we have? Spencer Rattler even 21.7. Like, it's the randomness of all of these players has just been crazy for whatever reason. I mean, the worst matchup was actually week 1. Sam Darnold put up 5.4. But these are all options that when you look at the 49ers, I don't see any great quarterbacks. And right now, Stafford's kind of on a roll. I mean, I've liked what I've seen out of him. He's been one of the more consistent players. I'm with the fact that this past week, him and Puka have just gone crazy. But it's definitely been up, down, up, down. I mean, I think he's quarterback 3 right now on this week with 27.4 fantasy points. Like, that's just insane. He hasn't been under double digits. His lowest is his first week where he put up 13.6. So if that's the worst you're getting out of him, I would much rather take that than a lot of other options that you might be starting or might have thought you were starting. So that's who I'm going with. Who do you got, Mike?
Yeah, definitely like that. Stafford's always has the potential to put up a pretty big game, too, if he can find the end zone, So, yeah, a couple ones here. Jackson Dart, he's 20.9% rostered, which I thought he was even a little bit high. I guess when they announced it, a lot of people picked him up. But, yeah, I think he could be a good, probably more long-term. I don't know if you're comfortable starting him. We saw one game of him. He rushed for 54 yards. He rushed the ball 10 times, 54 yards, and a touchdown. We'll see how sustainable that is. He was a rusher in college. I think he had a college season of close to 700 yards rushing, which is a lot in college because they also count sacks as negative rushing yards. So, if you're getting over 600-700, that's like getting over 800-900 in the NFL. roughly. So I think he's worth a potential stash just to see what you got there. Because if he's going to run the ball like that, he's gonna. It doesn't matter if he only passes for 115 yards or whatever he passed for. He gives you 12 points on the ground and throws a touchdown. You're good. So. And then JJ McCarthy should be coming back. I don't know if he's coming back this week. Have we heard anything?
I think it was 4. I think they did put him on IR, so I think it is actually 4 weeks that he's out.
Okay.
So
okay,
but
so,
definitely a name to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, so this is long term. If you have a bye week in week 9, or 8 or 9 or something, and you want to get ahead of it, because a lot of these quarterbacks you're going to see are going to start getting picked up. Maybe not McCarthy, but a lot of these other guys, because someone might need to stream them, and if they have a good game, they might just keep them or something like that. So sometimes you want to get a couple weeks ahead of your own bye week situation. So McCarthy can also run the ball. Good offense. He should take that job back whenever he's healthy. So, couple options out there. And I'm sure there's a few more out there as well that are maybe slightly over 50% that people can go out and grab as well. So,
well, I guess I'm going to throw out one more because it terrifies me. But Sam Darnold gets to play the Buccaneers, who have a completely depleted defense. So I'm a little curious to see how that goes. That's a game that could very easily get out of hand very quickly.
I like that call. He's played well. Like Sam Darnold's played well. It's not huge for fantasy, but he's played well. I mean, he's thrown multiple touchdowns 2 out of 4 games. He's going to give you 220, 230, maybe 250. So yeah, I think it's a good call. He's playing well. And the offense is playing well for Seattle.
Yeah, it's quite the change from Geno Smith to Sam Darnold, and it seems to really have worked out for one of those teams more than the other. So, all right, well, out of quarterback, we'll move on, get into running backs because I feel like this might be an area that more people are interested in, and we're bringing up a name that I think has finally taken over, Woody Marks. 31.7% rostered this week. He finally surpassed Chubb in snaps, and that's a big number. He also is just cruising when it comes to his success on, this 1 week in particular. Granted, it was a really good matchup, but the fact that he was able to come out and rush like a madman for that game, it really opened up. He's, I think, the top 10, top 12. Somewhere in there, he's had a really great game. So, I'm really feeling like he's a somebody that you're gonna like the upside every week. They're gonna use him no matter what. So I'm very curious to see how that ends up going for him.
I'm pretty sure we brought him up last week and said, hey, Woody Marks is getting a little bit more work. So keep an eye on that. We'll pick him up or stash him.
Yeah,
so
it's been one of the names we've been floating out for sure. Speaking of names we floated out, Kendre Miller, 6.1% rostered, brought it up again last week. A guy who had slowly been getting more snaps, looked to have a little bit more spark, and this week had a lot more spark. It definitely showed up in a big way. So I'm 6.1% rostered, very widely available. And then finally, I'm going to go with based on what I saw this past week, Justice Hill is 10.6% rostered. That is really coming on the fact that if the Ravens are going to be behind, they're going to be using Justice Hill a lot more than Derrick Henry. And the fact that it looks like almost their entire defense went out this past week. They lost another 3 or 4 guys, potentially for a couple weeks, which makes me believe that it might be in the hole, including potentially Lamar Jackson. We'll see. They haven't really given any update on that, but definitely a name that if you're looking for opportunity and in PPR league, I think he has a lot of value. So,
yeah, yep. I was gonna, definitely he needs to be brought up because when they're trailing, he gets used. Yeah, he's not gonna run. He's not gonna have a 70-yard run every game, but he's gonna give you those 5 catches or so potentially. So. And he's good as a receiver out of the backfield for sure.
Yeah, and he can potentially score, which is always a nice little bit because he does have that spurt. He's able to burst through a lot of area and cover a lot of ground quickly.
Yeah. I mean, we have to talk about Kenneth Gainwell. Just went off Dublin game, and obviously Jalen Warren surprised inactive. Hopefully, this is why the sleeper made that update where the emergency starter. This is what they made it for. Hopefully that's enabled, or you play on sleeper or whatever, and you didn't get messed over by that. Because I know, a lot of people in the West Coast or other places, they're not going to wake up and check. And but yeah, Kenneth Gainwell. Now they are on a bye, so you're not going to get him for next week. Obviously, he needs to be picked up. Maybe the Warren injury lingers. Even if it doesn't, though, I would assume. I don't think it's going to be Kenneth Gainwell's backfield necessarily, but I think it's going to go back closer to what it was like weeks 1 and 2, rather than week 3. Week 3 it was like 80% Warren, and Gainwell kind of went by the wayside. But the first 2 weeks it was roughly 45% or so snap share for Gainwell. So I would assume it gets a little bit closer to that. And, we see some more touches for Gainwell. So, we haven't really seen, I don't think we've ever really seen a game where Gainwell has gotten this many touches, right? So it's like, who knows? Maybe this is just like what he is, right? So, yeah, he definitely needs to be picked up, in my opinion, there. And he's still over 65% available. Blake Corum, I mean, handcuff running backs. Kendre Miller, Blake Corum, those two guys are getting a little bit of work as well. That if you're like super desperate or deep leagues or whatever, you can maybe start them. But, AJ Dillon is maybe a handcuff that people don't realize. He seems to be the handcuff for Philadelphia. And we know what Philadelphia can do when in the run game. So maybe Saquon hasn't been great to start the year, but, there's always, you're on the Eagles, you have that offensive line, so that's always going to be, an option. Braylon Allen is out there. All these backups that if the starter gets hurt, everyone's going to blow all their fab money on them, right? And so why not get ahead of the game a little bit? Rico Dowdle is another one. He's actually been getting some work as well that we can, talk about. He's been getting about 40% of the snaps and stuff like that. So lots of handcuffs if you don't need anyone for next week to definitely go out there and grab.
Yeah, and because I also see that Dignell's bringing it up, it's Tajay Spears. Another one who is potentially coming back at some point. We're still unsure of when that is. It looks like they're ramping up for this week. I'll believe it when I see it, like most things. I'm going to be one who's waiting on it because he's so fragile. He's very explosive, very dangerous, but also so fragile. So, all right, got a couple of questions from the chat. Batch82, drop Pacheco for Woody Marks.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of at that point.
Yep.
He got in the end zone this week, so that was a boost to him, but was still outplayed by Kareem, and even Brashard Smith ended up with a big game. So, and Mgadal, Kendre Miller worth picking up. It really depends on who you have to drop here.
Yeah.
Because I would say yes, but it's a real speculative ad.
It is. He looks good. I noticed it in week 1, actually. He's like, oh, yeah, he made a couple good runs. We always float this out. It doesn't ever really happen. Like, the trade deadline in the NFL is always way more exciting to think about than it actually really is.
Yeah.
It's not like baseball or basketball or whatever. But we have seen more trades over the last few years than I ever remember. You never saw trades in the NFL mid-season. And then, we saw McCaffrey and a couple guys here and there. There's what are the Saints doing, right? Are you going to just continue? Why not trade Alvin Kamara if you can get something from him? Just kind of floating it out there. And he feels like a potential trade chip where even if you get a 5th rounder in return for the Saints, why not take it? Play Kendre Miller. So, that could really help Kendre Miller as well. That's obviously over a month away. But it makes me think about, I think they also pushed back the trade deadline again, or was that last year? They pushed it back to make it more, hey, when it was always in late October, and it's kind of like season's not even really halfway done. A lot can change, because you only play 16, 17 games.
Yeah, so
I think they
moved
pushed
to
it back
November
now.
4th this year.
Okay. And so,
So
like, what is that, week?
9
I
after
don't
week
even
9,
know.
so
Week
between
9.
week 9 and 10.
So yeah, I mean, at that point, you got 7 games left or whatever you have, and you should kind of know if you're out of it for sure. I mean, the Saints are already 0-4, so they should know easily by then. But yeah, and the Pacheco thing, I think I'm just kind of done with Pacheco. He's not going to get catches. Cream punts being used at the goal line, so yeah, it sucks, but it's time to move on.
Well, and that's also why we bring up handcuffs, because more than likely what you're going to see are when these teams start realizing that they don't have a chance of making the playoffs, these people that are starting up front that are good, they can get a lot for. Meanwhile, they have young backs behind them. Like, I know what you brought up Alvin Kamara, but Breece Hall is another one that they've been talking about floating out. Achan, Etienne is another big one. Like, all of these names have been floated as potential trades coming down to the trade deadline, and so it's definitely something that you got to keep an eye on. Yeah, Jaylen Warren.
Yeah, DJ Moore, I've heard.
Oh yeah, well.
Yeah.
So
that's
I mean, there's a long list of potential names, but looking at just running back, that's kind of where you are. Oh, and then Tamara asks, Mars or Daddle pick up for neighbors. I still have Pickens, Harris, and Devontae Adams at wide receiver, so I think she's looking for a stronger flex. We are both going to lean Marks here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Dowdle's more of a handcuff than anything. I mean, he is getting some work, so if you're like in a super deep league or just like your team is decimated, I mean, if you're starting Rico Dowdle, it's pretty bad. But he's getting some work. Maybe he gets a little bit more. But yeah, it's definitely Woody Marks. Even if you don't need to start someone this week, it's Woody Marks. You need to pick him up.
Yeah, I think the opportunity is definitely there. And I mean, again, news coming out: Joe Mixon, like does look like he's, I mean, not close. So, not what you want to hear. So that's always a risky one. But all right, wrapping up running backs into wide receivers. Bring up my boy. Wan'Dale Robinson, 43% rostered, still too widely available. This is really coming on the back that now Neighbors is going to be down. Robinson has definitely been running the most routes next to Neighbors, and so I'm very curious to see how that works out. And we'll see how it all ends up working for Dart, because he seemed to still go after Robinson, and Robinson was in a good area to move the ball. Speaking of another injury, Cedric Tillman popped up, and so the next guy up would be Isaiah Bond, 1.3% rostered. A name I keep bringing up because they needed to. He kind of seems to be filling that role. He's been running as a wide receiver 3 on the team since they picked him up early, this year, and super talented. So I'm very curious to see how he do as a wide receiver 2, and if they do decide to make any kind of change, it would be interesting to see how his numbers grow with a different quarterback as well. And then finally, Kendrick Bourne. I brought up Ricky Pearsall. I really think that Bourne saw another uptick in snaps. Very widely available, a name to keep an eye on because, again, if Pearsall is out for a long period of time, Jennings has already shown that he is also beat up, and Bourne has a rapport already. I know DeMarcus Robinson's coming back from a suspension, but they barely saw, handful of snaps this week. I think he was around 20, which pretty good for his first week, but still, it's not ideal. But we'll see how it ends up going.
Oh, surprised Wan'Dale was that low. I mean, he had that huge game. I know he was at a down game. This was just 2 weeks. Yeah, so he didn't really have time to. He didn't really have a down game. He had a Wan'Dale. Oh no, he did. Sorry, it was. I was confused. I thought the week 3 was the huge game. It was week 2. So it's been two down games. So that makes sense. But yeah, it definitely needs to be picked up. Yeah, I mean Darius Slayton is another Giants receiver. Like maybe Wandale's role doesn't change too much, and Darius Slayton, who's a solid wide receiver, that he's maybe the next man up to fill more of that neighbor's role in the offense. He's available everywhere, 3.6% rostered, so you can get him. So yeah, just playing off the injury of neighbors there. Alec Manor, I think we talked about him. You talked about him last week.
Talked about him, I feel like all year. It's been a name that we've been watching since week 2. I was like, oh, so it's definitely an interesting one. But yeah,
but we're getting close to a firing there. That might be the first NFL head coach firing of the season. And so new offensive system maybe comes in. I mean, he's getting the targets. He has 25 targets in 4 games. He only caught 2 passes for 13 this last week, but he's literally playing 2 for 44. Sorry, he's literally playing over 80% of the snaps now. So yeah, if Cam Ward clicks, if the offense changes something, it could be real beneficial for Io Manor. Romeo Dobbs is always he's just always in that 40% range rostered, and I guarantee you, everyone looks at it. It doesn't look sexy, but then it's just oh yeah, he puts up good numbers every now and then. Obviously he's not going to catch 3 touchdown passes, but everyone thought it was going to be the Matthew Golden game. Matthew Golden's snap share actually went down, and so Romeo Dobbs is over 90%. He's literally out there all the time. He's the only receiver like that. Dontavian Wicks was played. His snap share went up. Golden's went down, and so it might continue this way for Romeo Dobbs. And again, is he going to catch 3 touchdowns? No, but just give you 60 yards and the occasional touchdown, with 4 or 5 catches, and you're going to be happy. And then I'll throw out Luther Burden again, who's pretty wildly available, widely available, and wildly. He had that big play in week 3, and we were kind of thinking, all right, does he see a bump in snap share? He didn't, but rookie receiver, has some talent, could slowly kind of come along. When do we see that move towards a little bit more Luther Burden? They have a bye week this week. And generally, and I don't know, everyone says it. I've never done the research where it's oh yeah, rookies get a larger load after the bye week. It makes sense, right? When you're middle of the season, all right, let's get our rookie more involved. I don't know if it's true, but if it is, Bears have their bye week this week, so maybe more Luther Burden coming up.
Well, I also feel like that really comes down to, by then, they usually have started to pick up the plays. They know it a little better. They're feeling more comfortable in the offense. And then they're kind of okay, let's give him a little more work and see if he can't do something. I mean, that's one reason we always stress rookies right now is where you're kind of trading for them, because they could pop off after their buys or once buys start because they're looking for a spark or whatever. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's some decent wide receiver names out there, sure. So there's didn't Joshua Palmer get injured? Is that right? For Buffalo, maybe not.
Yeah, I don't see anything on it, but
I thought someone from Buffalo I thought got injured. Anyways, there's a lot of good receivers out there. Hey, Darren Waller caught a touchdown pass. Jeez.
Of course he did.
Anyways, yeah.
All right.
Not anyone did when it was starting.
Yeah. Batch 82 asks, is Godwin toast or might he improve? There's Romeo Dobbs, I'm guessing Trey Tucker, and Pittman all hanging out on waivers.
You said Godwin?
Yeah.
I don't think he's toast.
Yeah, he's coming back from injury. I mean, it's his first game really getting to play. He had, what was his severe ankle? He dislocated it.
Yeah, it was a gross, don't show the replay one or something. No, and he had 10 targets. I just looked it up. I didn't realize the guy had 10 freaking targets. 3 catches is insane for Godwin. I don't know. I'd have to look and see, was he playing in the slot or not. That's the big thing with Godwin. When when he had that down year a couple years ago, he wasn't really playing in the slot, and then he got moved back to the slot last year. It was awesome. I don't think he's toast. I wouldn't drop him for Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker is he's a player who's going to play a lot. He's going to get a couple deep targets a game. But I don't think, what we saw from Trey Tucker in week 3, where he had the 9 targets, 8 catches. I don't really see that in his game. That was kind of an outlier. So, and then Dobbs is like a solid player, bye week guy, maybe a safe floor type of player. But no, I'd be keeping Godwin for the upside, unless you're just like he's your worst player on your team and you need to cut someone for a starter or something like that.
No, you're right. He played as an outside wide receiver because, of course, Evans is out and Igbuka is kind of dominating. So,
yeah, hopefully if Evans comes back, we see Godwin more slot.
Yeah.
Because that it's just better for fantasy. Either way, you're keeping Godwin. Now.
I would like to have Pittman on my team as well, but it really depends if you have something else you could drop for him, because I don't want to get rid of Godwin for Pittman, but I do like Pittman with Daniel Jones. They've kind of been connecting pretty well.
Pittman's on the waiver wire, you saying? Oh, yeah. I might drop Godwin for Pittman. I don't want to, but if you're saying he's your worst player, yeah, I'd rather drop like a backup tight end if you're rostering one, unless it's like a stud, or even a backup quarterback, because you can probably just pick someone back up in a few weeks. Pittman's been awesome. Hasn't he been like top 15 this year?
Yeah, I mean, he's had a couple of down games where I think the week did he end up beating out Surtain? He had one bad week where he had a rough matchup and Downs had a bigger game, but then bounced back. So
his worst game's 4 for 40, and then all his other games that was against Denver, and then all of his other games he has a touchdown. And he's catching 5 or 6 passes. Yeah, like 5 for 40 and a touchdown this last week with 10 targets, 6 for 73. Yeah, he definitely picked up. That's crazy. He's on the waiver wire.
People are sleeping on it, man. They aren't paying attention.
I guess so. I mean, I'm just quick and I double check. Yeah, he's wide receiver 11 in PPR. So, yeah, I would drop to Godwin if he was my worst player for Pittman.
All right, and then Daniel Everhart was asking, do we drop Ridley for Aya Manor at this point? And yeah, this week his snaps for Ridley dropped like an insane amount. It went from him playing like 90% to what did he end up playing this week? He only
54.
Oh my gosh. He ran just over 50%. He dropped to 27 snaps. Aya Manor dominated this week with 41, so 92% of snaps Aya Manor played this week.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was kind of excited for Ridley this year, but it's just not really happening. So I would.
All right. Well, that'll get us out of wide receiver. We'll move into tight end. Of course, bringing up the same name because every week it just seems to keep going on. Brenton Strange, 27.5% rostered. He's just putting up the numbers week in and week out. It's crazy to me how he's out there constantly. I mean, he's running majority of his snaps. He's, I think, the second highest snap percentage on the team behind Brian Thomas, which not saying a whole lot because Brian Thomas has also been struggle busting it. But he's putting up 12.1 last week. Well, week before, 4.7, 9.9. And then this week, I think another double-digit week for him. So it's one of those players that it's really the only thing that Trevor Lawrence has thrown to consistently who's catching the ball. So with that in mind, he's been moving up and staying pretty consistent for you week in and week out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. We'll shout out a couple, we still love Hunter Henry, Juwan Johnson. They're over the 50%. You're not going to hear their name. Well, you're hearing their names, but they're not on our list because they're over that 50%. But just in case they're out there, they're like 1 and 2. Those two guys we love. So pick them up if they're there. Aronde Gadsden, this is a little bit more of a deeper league again. You talked about him last week that he got his first work, and he had a crazy like target when he was out there. He was being targeted like he had 7 targets on like 22 snaps or something crazy, which is obviously not sustainable. But he saw his he was actually played the most snaps for the tight ends. He was 47.6% of the snaps. I believe that was the most.
Yeah, it
So
was.
he is a receiving. Yeah, okay. So he is a receiving tight end. He's not a big blocker type of guy. So I don't know if he's ever going to get much higher than that. I don't know, but if he does, and he's talented, we could see him. We could easily be talking about him, again in a couple of weeks here. So don't mind stashing him in a deeper league. I will shout out a couple other people. Dalton Schultz. Just he's kind of like the Wandale of tight ends right now. Like you look at his box score, it's very like symmetrical. 3 for 28, 3 for 29, 5 for 39, 5 for 30. Like he's just very consistent. He's not going to do a whole lot, but it's probably going to put him if he does what he's done the last 2 weeks. It's probably going to put him as a top 15 tight end. So I want to throw his name out there. Theo Johnson is another one that I want to throw out there. He's a tight end who's playing a lot. Almost 80% of the snap share to start the year. That is kind of the key to tight ends, unless you're one of the major guys, right? Is like, are you just out there? The Cade Ottens, the Cole Kmets of the world, the Dalton Schultz of the world, that they're just out there, so they kind of like fall into these 3, 4, 5 catches every week. Theo Johnson could be that. No Malik Neighbors. Does he have that connection with Jackson Dart? Mason Taylor, who's playing right now, is also playing a lot. He's a rookie. So a couple guys like just more to keep an eye on, or more than anything. But I think Brenton Strange, if you need someone for next week, is probably the best one. That's under 50%. Chika Conquo as well, but he kind of I don't know. I don't really want to start with those play with those Titans at all, really. So he had a couple good games in a row, and then kind of a dud yesterday.
Well, and then Saints brought up the fact that Foster Moreau and Taysom Hill potentially back at practice this week, or looking to start ramping up this week. Their window's open, so I'm very curious to see how that ends up working out. And Daniel Everhart brings it up too. Is Taysom Hill a threat to Johnson? I think he's more of a threat to Kamara, but that's a personal opinion.
Yeah, I don't necessarily see them going away from Juwan Johnson at this point. But we haven't seen Kellen Moore with Taysom Hill yet, so we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be. I'm assuming that they'll probably want to ease those guys in, unless, of course, Johnson gets injured, which definitely not wanting, but it's definitely something we're going to keep an eye on. And then Tamara said, thoughts on Fannin? I'm thinking I can cut Mason Taylor loose. Has McBride and Njoku.
Yeah. If you have McBride, you probably only need one tight end until he's on a bye.
Yeah, and that's why, just to have a bye cover. I mean, I'd probably prefer Fannin over Njoku at this point, and Taylor. So, but I'm fine having both of the tight ends for the Browns right now, especially. I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but.
Yeah, Fannin saw his highest snap share, 85%, which was great. So I don't mind holding Fannin on a roster too. I also don't mind just not worrying about whatever Arizona's buy is. I don't know it off the top of my head, and just picking up a streamer that's probably going to be there, and just using that roster spot for a handcuffed tight running back. So that's probably how I would play it if I was you.
Yeah, Arizona Cardinals bye week is week 8, so got a couple weeks.
Okay. Yeah.
Definitely something to know. All right. And then we'll wrap it up and go to everybody's favorite segment. We're going to look at defenses, and I'm going to go with what I consider a layup in Kansas City Chiefs versus Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars had a pretty good game this past week. However, the Chiefs also are really good at just beating up other teams and taking out all their best players. So, with that in mind, they're 32.5% rostered and I think this is a good matchup. You can not worry about going negative. I doubt that both these teams are able to score that many points that it ends up in a negative game script for them. So,
Yeah. Yep. I'll throw out the Chargers again. I think their defense is really good. It hasn't translated too much to fantasy. Sometimes we get that every year. There seems to be one like, oh yeah, this defense is good, but they don't maybe turnovers or the sacks that you need, or whatever your scoring settings are. But yeah, I don't mind the Chargers just because again, I think their defense is good. Going against the Commanders, so a little bit dependent on if Jaden Daniels is going to play or not. Do have to shout out Steve with the Cardinals are playing the Titans. So you can definitely go grab the Cardinals if you want to, yeah, they're out there. What are they? 27.1% rostered. The Colts, I also don't mind. They're playing the Raiders. Geno's been turning the ball over like crazy. Colts are only 27% rostered, so I don't mind them as well. There's a lot of good options here this week to kind of stream some defenses. So yeah, there's some good options. I mean, hell, even the Giants playing the Saints. Giants defense I think is, if those pass rushers kind of get it all together, are pretty good. And they're playing the Saints, which no one's worried too much about this.
yeah, definitely not something you're sweating over. That's for sure. But all right. Well, with that, we're going to get out of here. Let everybody else enjoy the games. It's been fun. We'll have one going on now or having the second one kick off later. It's just how it's going to keep rolling. These two on Monday is weird. Another early game on Sunday in London. I think it's 8:30 again, Central.
I think the next 2 weeks we got next
3
weeks. Yeah. So
not ideal, but just keep rolling with it and hope for the best. So, all right.
Yeah, we got. We have I think I'm looking at the schedule now. The doubleheader Monday night is becoming a regular because week 6 we have that. It's we have that doubleheader, and then week 7 we have a doubleheader, a true doubleheader where late 3 hours apart starting. But so yeah, we have 2 in the next 3 weeks of 2 games on Monday. I guess that's just what they're doing now. It's the NFL. So
yeah, definitely a mess, but it's money grab. If it's going to give it to them, might as well roll it out and hope for the best. And short weeks. I don't like that. I'm fine with it if they get rid of the Thursday game. But
yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to get out of here. Hope everybody has a good rest of this week 4. Moving into week 5. It's just how it's going to go. Best of luck. And remember, as always, to keep up with nonsense. Have a good week, guys.